Hello, and welcome to Fire It Up's Cooking Experiment Number 1, Pepper Roasting. Here you can see I have a selection of 3 peppers. This is a jalapeno pepper, raw and ready to go. This is a habanero pepper, and this is a serrano chili. Now, I've never actually tried roasting peppers at home before. Normally I just buy them pre-roasted. But I decided, well, why not give it a shot and see what happens? So you're going to get to see what happens when we try to cook hot peppers for the first time. Now I've done a fair amount of research on the subject, and based on what I've heard, read, and seen, typically people char the peppers over an open flame. However, I don't have a gas stove, but I don't think this is going to stop me. What I've heard is that I can actually take a fry pan, turn the heat way up, almost to the top, and go ahead and char the skin on the peppers almost as if it were being done over an open fire. Now I have my nice little non-stick grill pan here. That's what we're going to do. We're going to give it a shot and see what happens. With any luck, we'll end up with nice roast peppers and not a bonfire or a giant mess or a trip to the emergency room. Wish me luck. Okay. Let's see if the pan's hot enough. Typically I do this by splashing a little bit of water onto the pan and seeing if it sizzles up. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's plenty hot. So, let's go and plunk the peppers on. A little bit of excitement there. You're getting to see live exactly how I learned to cook different dishes. I go out, do a lot of research, read cookbooks, check on the internet, and talk to friends, and get a feel for the different techniques for cooking various kinds of food. I take all the different ways, synthesize them together into something unique, and try it. It's a fairly effective way. 7 times out of 10, I come up with something that tastes really good and is quite different. 2 times out of 10, I come up with something that's edible but nothing special. And 1 time out of 10, unfortunately, I come up with the infamous epic failure, something so horrible that not even a maggot will eat it. That's pretty bad. Okay, the pan is quite hot, and the peppers are actually cooking along fairly well. Unfortunately, I've had to turn the ceiling fan on, as the smell of cooking peppers is quite strong. I can see there's going to be difficulty in getting these peppers to cook evenly. The problem is they all have their own nice little curvature. And while I'm sure if you held them in tongs and held them over a fire, it wouldn't be such an issue, here it's a bit of a pain in the neck. Looks like the easiest one to turn over evenly is the habanero. Okay, with a little bit of careful work, I was actually able to twist the jalapeno around so that the surfaces that weren't originally being able to press against the pan are actually that way. Same thing with the serrano, but it's definitely not working out anywhere near as well as I thought it would. I also had to turn the ceiling fan up on high. The smell of cooking peppers is relatively overpowering. I suspect that cutting off the stem might have helped the issue a little bit, as the stem on the jalapeno does tend to get in the way. Okay, after a little bit of effort, I took a pair of kitchen shears, went in, and snipped off the stems to the point where they don't interfere with rolling the peppers around on the plate. Still, it's very difficult to get them to cook evenly. There seems to be a little bit of difficulty with that. I'm not sure this is going to work out well. Okay, as you can see, at this point, the serrano and the habanero are cooking along very nicely. The jalapeno, however, seems to be the problem child of the group. It simply won't rotate properly no matter what I do. I'm thinking it's possible that trying to oven roast these peppers might be a lot easier and produce a better result. But we'll wait. We'll give it a chance and see what happens. Okay, at this stage of the game, as you can see, the serrano pepper is almost completely blackened over its entire surface. It's pretty close to being ready to put into a plastic bag and sit. The habanero also doing fairly well. As you can see, it's blackening up very nicely. However, the jalapeno is refusing to cooperate. It simply will not stay where it belongs. Also, I will note at this stage of the game, it does smell like a fire in a Mexican restaurant right now. If you're going to be cooking these indoors, I recommend you do it when there's nobody else home, or when you can open every window in the place and turn up a lot of fans. It's strong. Okay, the entire surface of the serrano pepper is blackened. So I'm going to take it out and put it in a plastic bag to sit. The habanero still needs a little ways to go. It is charring up very nicely. However, I'm having my doubts as to whether or not this is the best way to go for a habanero. The jalapeno stubbornly refuses to cooperate. At this stage of the game, I'm kind of thinking that probably the best way to roast any kind of jalapeno pepper would be in the oven. Right, after another 5 minutes, it looks to me like that habanero is pretty well charred. So we're going to drag it out and put it in the plastic bag along with the serrano to sit. As to the jalapeno, it stubbornly refuses to give in. I've seen some stubborn food in my life, but let me tell you, this jalapeno pepper is probably about the meanest that I've ever had to deal with. We'll give it a little bit longer before we abandon hope. Well, it's taken an annoyingly long amount of time, but finally, the jalapeno is actually rotating properly to the point where I can get most of the sides to blacken. The issue is it actually had to cook a fair amount of ways before it would soften enough that it would actually allow itself to be rotated evenly. Still a little bit of a problem child. I'm thinking there's got to be a better way. That probably involves going out and buying it pre-roasted and not bothering doing it myself. Until I get a gas stove anyway. Okay, this jalapeno has been cooking forever. Let's take it off the fire, turn the heat off, put it in the bag, let it sit, and see what happens. Here are all the peppers, all 3 of them, sitting in the plastic bag, finishing roasting and cooling down. Once these cool down, I'll take a shot at peeling them and see what happens. It'll probably take about 20 minutes. Okay. After roasting a jalapeno, a habanero, and a serrano, my conclusion is serrano pepper, acceptable. Charred very nicely on the outside. Skin does seem to peel off fairly well. Habanero, again, acceptable. Charred up very nicely, but it doesn't really seem to have improved much of anything. And finally, jalapeno, fail. After cooking for a long time, the skin still doesn't seem to want to come off easily, and it doesn't appear to have actually improved things very much at all. I think I'll just stick to buying my roasted jalapenos. Anyway, that's it. Best of luck.